Hello, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Scott Sports 101. I'm Scott Trella. We're going to talk Browns and the NFL Draft, which is 1 week away next Thursday, and I have a little tutorial for that, and I'm going to have something very special to announce at near the end of the podcast. But first, here is today's Scott Sports 101 trivia question. Who was the number one overall draft pick in the 2005 NFL Draft? I will have the answer later in the podcast. Moving on to the Browns and NFL Draft, Browns Chief Strategy Officer Paul DePodesta is confident that the club will land an excellent player with the number 10 overall pick in the draft April 23rd, but they are prepared to trade up or down, and that could be either way. Excuse me. Just be prepared for that. We think there's going to be a very good player for us at number 10, and a very good player, and a very good player. And I don't have one player on my mind right now, he said on a conference call on Thursday, which is yesterday. There are more than 10 players on our board that we think are going to be really good NFL players. I feel differently. I'll feel differently come next Thursday night if only a couple of those players are off the board versus a whole lot of those players. But I think we really feel good about what we might be able to acquire right at number 10. And that being said, I still feel that the Browns should go with Andrew Beckham, with Mekhi Becton, or from LSU, or Andrew Thomas from Georgia. And I also feel if they do trade up or down, I don't know about Jedrick Lewis. I'm not sure, but I think they're going to stick with number 10. But in all the other rounds they have, they're gonna really probably trade up or down either way. So we'll have to see what happens. Now, having said that, he said they'll be open-minded about trading up or down, more likely down than up. We are very open-minded in general. He said, we have moved down in the past. We have also moved up in the past. I wouldn't really put anything past us. We do have the philosophy that more picks is better when you have more draws. You have a better chance of hitting on more guys. I think we believe in that generally, but that does not mean that we'll always be trading back as a result. We're pretty flexible on that front. If there is an opportunity that we think makes sense to go in either direction, we'd be open to pursuing it. Excuse me. As for his appetite for trading down, head in, he said, I think it's impressive to say right now I'll have a better idea next Thursday night after the first handful of picks are off the board. Or probably. DePodesta reiterated that GM Andrew Berry will have final say over the draft and personnel moves as spelled out in his contract when he was hired. Everything that we've done to date is just try to be as collaborative as possible, DePodesta said. I don't think that is about anybody having veto power over anyone else. We know that in this environment, AB has to make the final call, just as on Sundays in the full. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has to make the final call. We often talk about that we all have a headset on, but someone has to have the main headset where they make the call. That's going to change depending on the type of decision or even the time of the year. But I think it's pretty clear next week that AB has that control headset on. The Browns have explored trading for Redskins seven-time pro left tackle Trent Williams, as Cleveland.com reported last month, and those talks could resume on draft night without mentioning Williams' name. DePodesta acknowledged that there are pros and cons to a veteran versus a rookie, and that is absolutely true in that situation. With that, there's definitely a balance between your short-term and long-term expectations, he said. In the short term, even when you take great players in the draft, you have to expect that it's going to take a little time for them to get their ceiling at the NFL level. We have to expect that if you take any young player, regardless of position, certainly at the tackle position, they're not going to just be an all-pro right away. You have the rare case, you have the Joe Thomases of the world. That's what we are all shooting for. But I think those are extremely unusual. For that reason, DePodesta said the draft must be approached as a long-term proposition instead of a quick fix to the roster. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I really do agree with that. You have to expect that there are going to be some growing pains for any young players that may really have really high potential. So going through those growing pains is quite worth it, because you look up after 2 or 3 or 4 years and you do have that all-pro playing at a key position. You can run into problems when you go into the draft. With that idea, that you're solving needs for that season. Sometimes that can be a mistake. He noted that the Browns will stay true to their draft board in most cases. Sometimes need will come into the equation, especially if you're trying to decide between a couple of players and you need a tiebreaker or something like that, he said. But I think best player available is probably more of the driver. DePodesta said they'll keep in mind that rookies might not have much of an off season to prepare, but he raved about the program which begins on Monday that Stefanski and his staff have implemented. Our coaches have done an unbelievable job preparing for what is essentially a virtual off-season program for our players, he said. I've been blown away with how they've put together a plan to teach and to implement our philosophy, implement on our culture, and build our culture with our players, and it's really been fantastic. It has obviously been led by Kevin, but each of our coaches and each one of our position coaches, it really has been remarkable what they have done. It has made me very bullish on our prospects, even without a normal off season. He explained that his home office has been enhanced and that he is ready for next Thursday night. Vice President of Information Technology, Brandon Covert, and his team of IT folks at the Browns have done an unbelievable job of getting all of us up to make sure that we are functioning, he said. And I do have an official draft phone here in my office. I have multiple screens. I have some backup generator and backup internet just in case things go down. I think we'll be in really good shape. My setup is going to mirror what probably 8 or 9 of us in the organization have. He acknowledged that the trades will be a little challenging, but I think we will have plenty of time to actually carry out anything that we actually want to do. He is confident in the tech-savvy Browns' ability to conduct a virtual draft, but lamented the solitary nature of it. My biggest disappointment for this year's draft, because of the circumstance, is that we all can't be together to really enjoy it, he said. It's been an incredibly collaborative exercise to date, and I think it's going to be an incredibly collaborative experience next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Ultimately, it would be fantastic if we could all experience that together in the same room, in the same building with all of our coaches and with all of our scouts and with all of our football personnel. Unfortunately, we will not be able to do that piece of it. I think that's a shame, and I do too, and in terms of picking players and the execution of our plan. I feel great about where we are and do not think the setup is going to hinder us in any way whatsoever. He also revealed that he should have a new contract soon after the draft. Jimmy Haslam and I were discussing it, though, the latter part of winter, and I think we are in a great place on it, he said. I'll be honest, with hiring the coach, hiring the GM, free agency, the coronavirus, and now the draft, it just hasn't been front burner material in terms of getting it done. I am wholly confident that we will probably shortly after the draft. It really hasn't been the focus as of late, and I do agree with that. And I really feel that the Browns are going to really get some good picks in the draft. But I think number 10, I think they're going to go with Beckham or Thomas either way. And we're going to get back to that in just a minute. But right now, I want to reveal the answer to today's Scott Sports 101 trivia question. Hold on a minute, I got it. Excuse me. Who was the first number 1 overall pick in the 2005 NFL Draft? And if you said Alex Smith, you are correct. The San Francisco 49ers took Alex Smith as the number 1 pick overall pick of the 2005 NFL Draft. Alex Smith played quarterback at Utah and with the 49ers and the Redskins. I'll have another trivia question on my next podcast, so stay tuned for that. But I really think the Browns are really in a good shape for the upcoming draft this next Thursday night. Now, I said I had something special to announce. I'm almost out of time, but I wanted to tell you this is my 400th podcast, and I never knew I'd make it to 400, and who knew I would. And I hope you continue to view my podcast and hopefully get more subscribers out there as well. That's good. Just about going to wrap it up for this edition of Scott Sports 101. Always remember, be a team player each and every day and every way possible. So long, everybody. 3, 2, 1, I'm done.